Hey, good people. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be giving you all my review on the Real Housewives of Atlanta, Season 14, Episode 15. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to like, definitely drop some comments, and subscribe. Without further ado, let's go. So we open up with the argument between Kenya and Sanya. It is still going on. They're going back and forth. You can't really understand what either of them are saying at this point in time. And Ross, who's Sanya's husband, stands up and says, listen, I've had enough. Don't F with my wife. And he's looking in the direction of Kenya. I do not like personally when the men get involved. However, being a wife, I do understand Ross's need to protect his wife. Okay, he says in his confessional that his wife was drowning and he doesn't know any man that would sit there and watch their wife drown without intervening. I get that because I'm a wife myself and I love the fact that he is willing to defend his wife no matter who it is, but I feel like it's how he did what he did, standing up from the table, glaring at Kenya on the other end of the table. That wasn't the best way to go about it. We saw Todd talk to Marlo the night before. I feel like that was a better way to talk to the women, but the way that Ross did it, it did come across a little aggressive. I could see if I'm Kenya, how she would take that as, ooh, I'm a little threatened, I'm a little fearful with this man yelling at me. I understand both sides, but at the end of the day, like I said, he should have just stayed out of it. He and Sanya walk off, and Sanya saying, you know, I expected everything coming my way from Kenya, but I did not expect this from Sheree. She makes mention in her confessional that Sheree and Marlo had a pact that they were just going to be the turn-up girls on the trip and make sure everybody had a good time. And she felt like the first chance that Sheree got, she jumped ship. And I'm like, Sanya, have you not seen the other episodes, the other seasons of The Real Housewives of Atlanta? This is what Sheree does. She's not loyal and she can't be trusted. Kenya's back at the table and she's telling everybody that Sanya should have let them know what time to show up and called them to see where they were and let them know what was going on. She can't wrap her mind around the fact that Marlo showed up and Sanya didn't think that that was odd that Marlo was there and she and Sheree were not. Kandi, who's the voice of reason, says, listen, when you're working, you're focused on your work, there must have been some type of misunderstanding. And she's like, you know, we all had a good time on the boat, so I don't even understand why you're tripping about this. Kandi says in her confessional that if she had to choose between the South Carolina trip that Kenya put together and this Jamaica trip that Sanya has put together, she would definitely rock with Sanya. And then they show a flashback of the time on the South Carolina trip where Kenya came out with some crab cakes just for herself, didn't have no food for nobody else. And I remember Kenya was not the hostess with the mostest during that trip. I would definitely rock with Sanya as well. Sheree says in her confessional that she thinks that Sanya uninvited her. Sheree, please shut up. I'm so sick and tired of Sheree. I really truly am. I feel like she's always trying to come across as a victim and I'm not here for it, Sheree. I also want to say I don't understand why Marlo didn't call her good friend Sheree and see where she was herself. I can understand Marlo not giving two craps about Kenya, but she and Sheree are supposed to be really tight, and she was there and didn't see Sheree there, so how come she didn't say, hey Sheree, what's going on? I'm just saying. Sanya and Ross come back to the table. At the end of the day, she wants to make sure that everybody has a good time on her trip, and she's going to put aside this whole argument that she's having with Kenya and Sheree and just move forward for the sake of having a good trip. She gives everyone the itinerary for the next day, and they all get up and start heading to the bus. The way that those men were carrying Drew around in her wheelchair, it was like she was Cleopatra. Matter of fact, she said in her confessional that she felt like Beyonce. I thought it was everything when Mayetta's husband picked Drew up and lifted her up those stairs on the bus. Like, wow, he really has some good upper body strength. Not that Drew is a big girl or anything, but just to be able to pick anybody up like that is really impressive. So shout out to him. Sheree's on the phone with one of her people and they're discussing the fashion show. And no surprise here, Sheree says that she has to change the fashion show date because the date that she booked it for is no longer available. I don't see how. Did you put a deposit down? Like, how is the date no longer available? Anywho, she also says that things are not looking good. She's not getting all her pieces in, and it just sounds like what we've heard in times past, so it is what it is, y'all. We gonna see what this whole thing is gonna be about when that time comes. Sanya has to do some more stuff with iFit, so she thinks it's a great idea to put Marlo in charge of the group as the host while she is away. Why does this woman feel this way? Now, you know Marlo doesn't get along with half of these women. Why not put Kandi in charge of the trip? So Marlo's trying to get the group together so they can go out to lunch, and she's like, okay, let's go. The bus is here, whatever. And nobody is moving. Everybody is taking their precious time. Nobody is paying Marlo any attention. And this is exactly what I'm talking about, Sanya. Now, you had everything else planned beautifully, except for this right here. So eventually everyone gets on the bus and they are at the lunch menu. And let me tell you, the spread that Sanya had of the food, oh my God, it looked every bit of wonderful. Do you hear me? It looks so good. And the ladies were actually enjoying themselves in their meal until these birds that came out of nowhere started pooping on the table. What in the world? Kandi says in her confessional, bird poop or not, two things I don't skip is the bag and a meal. Girl, we know that's right, because since Kandi came on the scene, we knew two things about her. She liked to eat and she liked to make money. So she's sitting in the cut still eating. Marlo is running inside trying to take shelter wherever she can. So Marlo comes back out and tries to get the group to go eat over by the pool area. And once again, nobody is really paying Marlo any attention. They do not care what is coming out of this woman's mouth. Eventually, Mayetta and her husband, along with Sheree, do follow Marlo to the pool area. Kenya, Todd, and Kandi go over to what they call the VIP area, a little ways from where Marlo and the rest of the gang are. So Marlo lets Sheree and Mayetta know that she doesn't understand what's going on with her and Kandi. She feels like Kandi should never have mentioned her nephews at the dinner a couple of nights ago. And in my opinion, Marlo is just trying to get Mayetta to kind of turn and say something negative about how Kandi handled the situation. Now, Mayetta does agree, bringing up the nephews is going to elicit a response from Marlo, but she's not going any further than that. And I think, Mayetta, you handled yourself the right way, because you really don't want to lose a very good friend over Marlo Hampton. You just don't want to do that. Side note, I'm looking and I'm like, I know that Sanya had her iFit event, but where in the world is Ross? At this particular point in time, I'm thinking he's probably not going to make any more appearances. So Sheree and Sanya are together, and Sanya basically apologizes to Sheree for the miscommunication of what happened the day before. She starts confiding in Sheree about how she feels about Kenya, and I'm like, Sanya, this is a big mistake. Wrong move. Sheree is very messy. You said it the night before. Why are you saying this to this woman right now? I just don't get it. But I guess Sanya's going to have to learn the hard way. In the next scene, the group is going on what Sanya describes as whitewater rafting. If you know anything about whitewater rafting, it's like you're hitting these big waves and streams and all of this stuff. Sanya's version of whitewater rafting, apparently, is basically a lazy river, because there was nothing going on. Why was Bravo snapping those unflattering pictures of everybody getting on the rafts? Like, what is this, Bravo? Why y'all trying to play my people? Sheree and Kenya are on the same raft together, and of course Sheree is talking to Kenya about the conversation that she and Sanya had earlier that day. And I have to give it to Kenya. Kenya did not get offended at all. She says in her confessional that, if Sanya wanted to meet up with Sheree and kind of have that time between them, she's totally fine with it. Okay, Kenya. I like this new Kenya. I really, truly do. I just want to say, though, how come Sheree's not with her friend? Now, she brings her +1, but she's not hanging out with her +1. I didn't get that. So was Michelle on the raft by herself? Like, what was going on with that? I'm just curious. Kenya shares with Sheree that she does not like Ross's aggression, and Sheree's trying to downplay it because, now that Sanya invited her to the iFit thing in the morning earlier, she's all good. So she's like, oh, I didn't find him to be aggressive or whatever. Okay, Sheree, let that have been you and it would have been a problem. On the other raft, Sanya and Marlo are together and they're talking about Kenya. Sanya is basically saying that she finds Kenya to be very passive aggressive. She thinks that Kenya is always using her divorce with her husband to try to gain sympathy from the group or try to make excuses for her behavior. And I have to say, Sanya does have a point with that. They've shown several flashbacks of Kenya breaking down over the situation with Mark in Brooklyn. And listen, I understand where she's coming from. She wants her daughter to have a good relationship with her father, right? But you can't use that as an excuse for your behavior. I'm sorry. You just can't. In the next scene, everyone is is getting ready for dinner. Kenya makes a visit to Drew's room, and Drew lets her know that she's not going to the dinner. Her ankle is swollen even more than it was before, and she can't take any painkillers because she's going back on the flight the next day. So she's just trying to deal with her ankle at this point in time. I just don't understand why Drew didn't just go home when this whole Achilles tear first happened. Matter of fact, Kandi also says in her confessional that she didn't understand why Drew just didn't go home either. Mayetta stops by Candy's room and she tells Kandi about the conversation that she, Marlo, and Sheree was having. For Mayetta, she's trying to be a peacemaker. She is sympathizing with Marlo because Marlo was bringing up like her childhood and all that stuff with her. So of course, when you hear about somebody's childhood and their upbringing, especially if this is the first time that you've heard about it, you're going to sympathize with them. And Kandi basically tells her, girl, did she bring up her whole childhood and this, that, and the third? And Mayetta was like, yep. So Candy's like, this is what she does. She tries to bring that up to kind of smooth things over, but at the end of the day, she's still going to do and be the same person that she was before. Basically, Kandi is not trying to hear nothing Marlo has to say. She's been very clear on that. So everyone arrives to the dinner, and come to find out, both Kandi and Marlo are wearing the same top. The only difference is Candy's top is black and Marlo's top is green. I thought that was hilarious. Here these two women are beefing, but they both got on the same outfit. That was funny to me. Sanya goes around asking everyone what was their highlight of the trip. Sheree mentions the fact that it was going to Sanya's track, and we all know that the track that Sanya took them to was the first place that she started racing and competing, so Sheree thought that was pretty cool. And also the fact that Marlo beat Drew in the race. So here goes Marlo saying that when she saw the video that Sheree was doing, she was just so happy that Sheree was cheering her on and, you know, giving her the support. The thing about Marlo that gets me is that she always wants people to support her, to love her, to be there for her, but she really does not give that to them in return. Sheree is saying to Marlo, listen, I had put some money on this race that you were going to win. I thought that was really going to start Marlo up, but she took it pretty good. She was like, oh, okay, well, I still appreciate the fact that you were supportive of me. Sheree says, well, I know that you also kind of wanted to talk to Kandi, so here we go. Marlo says to Kandi that she is going to take accountability for what happened before and really taking it to a low place with Kandi with some of the things that she was saying. But Marlo says, listen, you was talking about my nephews and I was feeling a certain type of way. Like, why would you bring that up in front of the group of women that I don't even talk to, that I haven't shared this information with? Why would you do that? Kandi says, let me just start off by saying, I love your nephews. She apologizes for bringing both William and Mikey up in front of the group. But she says, listen, I didn't lie about any of the things that I was saying, but you, on the other hand, was lying on my husband. Kandi says, I'm not Michelle Obama. When you go low, I'm going to go lower. I know that's right, Kandi. We all know Marlo has a reputation for going low. So both ladies say that they're going to support each other. Marlo says that she's no longer going to bring up Todd. You would think that, okay, they're just going to bury the hatchet and that's that. But Marlo says in her confessional, basically, that she didn't feel like they resolved anything. Ugh, I just can't. I don't know about Marlo. Like, girl, what do you want Kandi to sit there and say to you? Okay? You were very disrespectful and did not need to bring up her mother and her husband and all of that to make your points. You just didn't need to do that. The same way you sat here and articulated the fact that Kandi brought up her nephews, your nephews, and that was the wrong thing for her to have done, is the same way you could have said that to her during that time. So I don't know what more Kandi Burress Tucker can give you at this particular point in time. Ross leaves after dinner. He says he has to get up early and go to work the next morning. And like I said, y'all, I think Ross is done with the group. He don't want to be bothered with these women ever again. He did not know what his wife signed up for, apparently, so he's bouncing. After he leaves, the rest of the guys decide, you know what, let's go too. I don't blame them. After the last couple of dinners that they've had and all the drama with that, I would want to get up and go too, especially if there was no reason for me to be there. So when the fellas leave, the ladies are basically saying, you know, we want to have a good night. Sanya's whole attitude and her demeanor is completely off. So she looks over to Kenya and she's like, Kenya, what's up? What's good? Kenya's like, why are you talking to me like a man? And I'm not gonna lie, the way that Sanya was talking, it kind of did sound like she was like a man. So that was funny to me. But Sanya's like, I feel like you're so ungrateful for this trip. Like, everybody's been gracious and happy and blah, 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 but you just seem, you know, ungrateful. Kenya says, ungrateful? Your attitude is in the toilet. Kenya's trying to let Sanya know what her issue is. And Sanya is talking over her. So Kenya's like, see, right now you're doing the Drew. And Sanya's like, no, I'm not. I can speak when I want to speak. And Kenya's like, no, you need to let me speak. And they're going back and forth to where you can't even understand what they're saying. Kenya calls Sanya inarticulate. Kenya doesn't understand what issue Sanya could possibly have with her. Sanya brings up the fact that Kenya had hung up the phone on her, and Kenya's like, girl, we already talked about this. What else have I done since then? Oh my God, y'all. Sanya did not have anything, anything to say. Like, Sanya, girl, you were in the middle of an argument. You were trying to make your case. How in the world have you forgotten what else you're saying that Kenya did to you? Kandi laughs right in front of Sanya's face. It says in her confessional, can't handle Kenya. She is setting herself up, and I totally agree. Girl, you can't even have a basic argument with Kenya and remember what it is that you're supposed to be arguing about. Kenya says to Sanya, moving forward, you know, like if we bury something, if we've already agreed to get over something, let's just move forward and never revisit it again. She asks Sanya, listen, do you have my birthday cake? So they're all laughing, and she's like, no, really, I'm serious. Do you have my birthday cake? So the producers put a little sentence up that says, Sanya did not have Kenya's birthday cake. And that's basically the close of the episode, or so we thought. They show Marlo in the airport with some KFC, and if you know about Jamaica, they say that the KFC in Jamaica is way better than the KFC here in the States. I've heard it multiple times myself. Marlo had a bucket of KFC chicken in the airport. Kandi must have walked by and smelled the chicken and went over and asked Marlo, could she have a piece of chicken? I'm like, this is so Kandi. So basically, Kandi and Marlo make up over some KFC. That's how they were able to put their beef aside. I thought that was the funniest way to close out the show. Anywho, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye.